Hello and welcome to Citroën DS Restoration. In the previous part, we did that rear area and that came out phenomenally well. In this part, we're going to do the interior rust that we have. Now, we've already patched the chassis bits. That was a couple parts ago, so that's okay. Mainly, we're going to be doing this here because the bottom of that is completely shot. We're going to be doing the rear floor because it's gone. And we're going to be doing this hump where the muffler is because it's shot and I need a place to put the seats. Now, it would be the best approach to doing this here would be as one single piece. Because as we can see, there are little ridges in it that is going to make it terrible to work with. But I've done it before with the rear that has those little ridges inside. And I did them pretty well. So we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to work them, reheat it, bend it to shape. Now, it would be good to do it as one piece, but I ran out of 20 gauge sheet when doing that rear. I got to go get another piece. But I do have scraps from the 20 gauge, and all of the scraps together is more than enough to cover this whole bottom area. So that's what we're going to be using. It should be fine. We also have this sheet of 16 that I have bended into a sort of C channel. And this is to replace a hat channel that went across to make the rear floor strong. That's way stronger than the original 20 gauge that it was. And basically, it'll slot under that floor and under this floor and hold it up, which means I also have a good place to sit while repairing this. But I have to do this first. So, let's weld that up. Let's clean this up and then start welding. Okay, so now we have our numbered areas in which we have to cut out and sand down and stuff like that. And we have our numbered pieces of sheet metal. So let's start cutting and sanding and everything like that. Okay, so now that we have ground this down, it looks terrible, I know, but it's because it's all covered in dust and everything. That is now ground down for welding. I'm going to cut along the bottom to get rid of all the bad rust that will eventually, if I don't cut it out, spread, and then I'll have to redo the entire thing, which I don't plan on doing. By the way, this thing works great for taking off rust and paint. The only problem is, it runs with these, which are basically those green scrubby pads on a spindle, basically for a grinder. And these are really expensive. A box this size is $20. So this is quite pricey for these bits. And I haven't even gotten to the most expensive part of this, which will be the hydraulic system. Let's start cutting these out, and then we should be okay to start welding these up. Okay, so there we go, the rusty bit cut out. This is part of the rear floor, which I'm going to make an elbow from these to weld down. And then we'll put, where's the 16 gauge? That in to the rear once this is all welded up. I'm not going to show myself welding it because I'm afraid that'll wreck my camera. So we'll cut to this all welded up and cleaned up. Alright, so there's what we've gotten done today. We patched the bottom. And then we put that bar in. So now I have to wait a few days until I get my next paycheck so I can get another sheet of 20 gauge to do the floor and the muffler hump. Alright, so I went and got a piece of metal before, and I trimmed out one for the rear floor. Came out pretty good. I just need to do some final trims so I can get that corner to fit properly. And then we'll replace this hump here, which I have to figure out how to replace. I'm not completely certain because that's over the muffler, and it's where the front seats sit. So I gotta spot the holes for the bolts and everything like that. But this is coming along quite well, so let's do some fine-tuning to this and weld it in. Alright, so our floor is in. I had to add that piece there because it wasn't too great, so I added that piece. And we got to work on the muffler hump now, which is going to be a bit complicated to make due to the gussets in them, or the strengtheners. There are 6 strengthener bars in there, so I'm going to cut this entire thing out as a unit, take one good strengthener, remanufacture that, make 6 more, make 5 more after that, and then weld them all together, and then weld the whole thing in as a unit. Alright, so there it is, cut out of the car, except for this side bit, which I couldn't get out properly, but it'll help me be able to line it up. Muffler hump's in surprisingly good condition here. So all I'm going to do is make a new piece completely out of that template, and then I'll show that done right now. Alright, so here we are at this point here. I need to make the an extension on both sides for some strength. I'm going to make it like a 16 gauge thing that attaches it to the sides. But yeah, this came out quite nice. The front of it, it is a bit weirdly like wavy, but once I weld it in, it should be straight. So let's weld it in completely now. Okay, now all the rust in the car has been repaired, and that's fantastic. We have a structurally sound Citroën DS now. With the rear, I just have to paint this black, and it'll be good to go. Unfortunately, that spray paint's basically empty. So I gotta go to the store and get more, but the rest is done. So, thanks for watching. In the next part, we'll start on the hydraulic system rebuild.